helped him flee through a side door to the nearby Gadsby's Hotel, where he spent the first night of his presidency. Antoine Michel Justin, the White House steward, induced the crowds outside by moving the punch to the lawn. For Jackson's admirers, he embodied the true spirit of America, a rugged individualist, a fiercely patriotic war hero, and a frontiersman. To Jackson's enemies, he was a lawless ruffian, a killer, and would-be tyrant. They believed that the chaotic scene at the White House was an omen of what was to come, and they feared that his inauguration would be the start of mob rule in America. 1. A brutal boyhood. It is very true that early in life, even in the days of my boyhood, I contributed my might to shake off the yoke of tyranny and to build up the fabric of free government. Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson grew up on a small farm amid gently rolling hills and dense forests of hickory, oak, and pine. Deer and small game were plentiful enough that, if necessary, a family could survive by hunting. The region, called the Waxhaws, was located directly on the border between the Carolinas. Some farms were in North Carolina and others in South Carolina, but the settlers, mostly new immigrants from Ireland, didn't care which colony their home was in. The only government authority they recognized was the Waxhaws Presbyterian Church, and the only laws they followed were derived from the Bible. Andrew Jackson's father died on March 1st, 1767, 2 weeks before Andrew was born. According to family tradition, Andrew's father died in a logging accident while performing the back-breaking work of carving a farm out of the wilderness. His widow, Betty Jackson, was left to care for newborn Andrew and 2 older children, Robert, who was then about 2, and Hugh, about 4. Betty was a stout, no-nonsense woman with flaming red hair and deep blue eyes. She was a tireless worker, but she was unable to manage her farm by herself, so Betty and her boys went to live with one of Betty's sisters, Jane, and her husband, James Crawford. The Crawfords, who had 4 sons and 3 daughters, lived in a farmhouse consisting of 1 or 2 downstairs rooms with a loft. Jane was often sick, so Betty managed the house by baking and preparing meals, spinning thread and making clothing, tending gardens, and caring for all 10 children. The Jacksons had immigrated from Ulster, Ireland, the year before Andrew was born. Betty's sisters had come a few years earlier. To escape poverty in Ireland and oppression at the hands of the British, it was common for extended families and sometimes entire villages to immigrate together, lured to the Carolinas by promises of rich, fertile land. The southern colonies encouraged Irish immigration because they wanted to increase the white population. In the event of a slave uprising, they wanted more people fighting on the side of the whites. The Irish, hardy and rugged, adapted easily to the Carolina backcountry. The more established colonists from England scoffed at the Irish immigrants of the Waxhaws, who one traveling Episcopalian minister referred to as a set of the most lowest, vilest crew breathing. As a young boy, Andrew would have seen slave traders marching captive men and women up the post road that led past the Waxhaws district to be sold in Charlotte, North Carolina. Many in his deeply religious community found justification for slavery in the Bible, where it was commonplace. Andrew attended school sporadically in a one-room schoolhouse where he learned reading, writing, arithmetic, and some Latin. He didn't care much for studying, and he never learned to spell properly. Later he joked that it was a poor mind indeed which can't think of at least 2 ways to spell a word. One historian quipped that Jackson was fully capable of spelling a word 4 different ways on the same page. Jackson may not have been much of a writer, but he had such a gift for speaking expressively and forcefully that Betty thought he should become a minister. Andrew, however, showed no signs of being destined for the church. He was wild and reckless, jumping fences, playing practical jokes, and frightening people with blood-curdling oaths. He was also a fighter. When the boys wrestled...